TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel thanks Germany for maintaining an uncompromising stance in the battle against anti-Semitism and terror. Hamas is actively working to gain regional support for a project of preparing for the upcoming liberation battle against Israel. Hezbollah seeks to increase Iranian influence in Lebanon by means of a state-initiated oil contract. Israel thanks Germany for maintaining an uncompromising stance in the battle against anti-Semitism and terror. Israel's outgoing president, Reuven Rivlin, who hosted his visiting German counterpart, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, at his residence in the Israeli capital, highlighted Jerusalem's gratitude for Berlin's firm commitment at a time when radical Islamist forces are proactively and vocally engaged to guarantee the demise of the Jewish state.
גרמניה, תחת הנהגתך, כבוד הנשיא שטיינמאייר, ותחת הנהגתה של הקנצלרית מרקל, הייתה בהחלט שותפה איתנה שלנו במאבק הבלתי מתפשר נגד האנטישמיות, וכן בעמידה המבוצרת לצד ישראל במאבקנו הצודק נגד כוחות הטרור שמבקשים למחוק אותנו מהמפה.
President Rivlin did not shy away from mentioning a withstanding disagreement between Berlin and Jerusalem in all that relates to the path required to ensure that Iran does not acquire a nuclear weapon, even though when it comes to the Islamic Republic's malign behavior in the region, the two nations are aligned.
על אף שאנחנו חלוקים מעת לעת על סוגיות שונות, ובין חברים הדבר הטבעי ביותר שאפשר להיות חלוקים ולהיות חברים. שתי האומות שלנו שותפות במאבק נגד החתירה של איראן לנשק גרעיני שיכול לאיים על יציבות האזור והעולם כולו, וכן במאבק בארגוני טרור כמו החיזבאללה, החמאס והג'יהאד האסלאמי המאיימים לפגוע בביטחון אזרחי ישראל ואזרחי העולם כולו.
Im Verlauf des heutigen Tages über die Sicherheitslage in der gesamten Region sprechen. Dazu gehört auch eine Frage, Herr Staatspräsident, die Sie angesprochen haben, die Rolle des Iran, die destabilisierende Rolle, die er politisch und außenpolitisch in der gesamten Region über Proxys im Libanon oder in Gaza oder im Irak innehat. Aber vor allen Dingen geht es uns, und in dem Ausgang sind wir uns ja völlig einig, verehrter Staatspräsident, darum, dass wir verhindern müssen mit den Möglichkeiten, die uns zur Verfügung stehen, dass wir auf jeden Fall verhindern müssen, dass der Iran sich nuklear bewaffnet. Du hast eben davon gesprochen, dass wir nicht in allen Punkten einig sind. Der Punkt, über den wir uns möglicherweise nicht einig sind, ist die Frage, wie ist der Weg dahin zur Verhinderung einer nuklearen Bewaffnung des Iran.
President Steinmeier, who is currently on his second of a three-day state visit to Israel, also utilized the stage to highlight Germany's unwavering position vis-à-vis Israel's right to defend itself, as was clearly manifested during the recent round of hostilities when German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas made a solidarity trip to the Jewish state at a time when thousands of rockets were being fired indiscriminately from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip toward Israel's southern communities between the 10th and 21st of May. With that being said, Steinmeier emphasized the need to realize a solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by means of direct negotiations.
Der israelisch-palästinensische Konflikt verschwindet nicht, und ich glaube, dass der alte Satz, den wir oft gesagt haben, immer noch richtig ist. Eine gute Zukunft wird es am Ende nicht geben ohne eine politische Lösung. Alternativen zur Zwei-Staaten-Lösung habe ich noch nicht so recht gehört in der Gegenwart, und deshalb gehe ich nach wie vor davon aus, dass das langfristig eine Perspektive sein muss, wenngleich ich mit Blick auf die aktuelle Lage sage, ich sehe auch, dass es im Augenblick vor allen Dingen darum geht, ein Mindestmaß an Vertrauen zwischen der neuen israelischen Führung und der palästinensischen Seite aufzubauen. Mir ist völlig klar, dass der Weg zu einer Wiederaufnahme eines direkten Dialogs, über die großen Fragen, dass ein solcher Weg nur über die kleinen Schritte der konkreten Zusammenarbeit.
In other yet related news, at a time when delegations from both Gaza and Islamist factions, headed by Hamas and Israel, are holding indirect negotiations in the Egyptian capital Cairo for the purpose of formulating an arrangement for a long-term ceasefire, the political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, is holding a series of meetings in the Lebanese capital Beirut with the declared aim of garnering regional support, quote, for the project of preparing for the upcoming liberation battle, in reference to Hamas's proactive effort to unite the forces of Islam for the purpose of destroying the Jewish state, and according with its charter, which states, quote, Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. Alongside meetings with Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri, who has the Shiite Amal movement, Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Hassan Diab, who heads the Hezbollah-dominated transition government, the Hamas chief was also hosted by Lebanese President Michel Aoun.
واستمعنا من فخامته إلى الموقف اللبناني الثابت من دعم الحقوق الفلسطينية غير قابلة للتصرف، وأيضا شعوره بما تعرضت له غزة خلال المعركة السابقة من هذا العدوان، ولكن أيضا هو فخور بالصمود الذي أبداه الشعب الفلسطيني وأيضا أبدته المقاومة.
Meanwhile, the Beirut leadership continues to defy Western demands for much-needed reform, a prerequisite for crucial financial assistance, at a time when Lebanon is evidently faced with the worst economic crisis since a deadly civil war plagued the country in the mid-1970s until 1990. And at a time when designate Prime Minister Saad al-Khariri is repeatedly blocked by Hezbollah loyalists to form a viable government, which will be tasked with implementing the much-needed reform, Hezbollah, with apparent consent from the caretaker government, which it evidently controls, has been receiving essential goods to stock up stores in Shiite and other allied neighborhoods, towns, and villages, with food, medicine, and other commodities flown in directly from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Consequently, while those loyal to Iran and Hezbollah are managing to withstand the deep economic plunder, those who oppose the Islamic Republic's influence are forced to contend with the rapidly spreading poverty.
كنا هون شخص، هون شخص، هون وقف شخص، هون شخص، هون شخص، هون هيك كلياتها، وداير المحل كله تاولات، وهون كان في تاولات كمان. بس هذا كله خففنا له نخفف الشغل.
أنا جعبالي أتوظف وظيفة كل استفاد منها شهرية مرتبة، يعني يصير معي مصاري يساعد أهلي مزبوط مثل الناس بالعالم، بصير عايشين مثل غيرنا المرتاحين. ما أحسن ما نعيش بهالعيش المذلة.
معي باكل ما معي ما باكل، ومفتحي بالروضي إذا بتلاقي فيه وقية جبنة أو وقية لبنة أو وقية لحمة أو فروج دجاج أو فخذ دجاج أو فيه. افتحي ما في إلا الخبزات وهيك بس شيء مي شيء شغلة.
Unfortunately, the northern Lebanon has been hit much more than the other parts of Lebanon. The situation every day there is very dramatic. We talk about hundreds of thousands of businesses and jobs that have been lost. We talk mainly about small and medium businesses run by private entrepreneurs. And we talk about a lot of middle class that has been affected quite badly from the situation.
Despite efforts to pressure the Lebanese leaders to implement reform, including by means of possible sanctions, the rapidly deteriorating situation is bolstering Hezbollah's resolve to convince Lebanon as a whole to accept Iranian oil, regardless of US sanctions imposed on Iran's oil industry.
أنا وعدت وقلت كلمتي وما زلت عند وعدي وعند كلمتي. أنا قلت إذا الدولة إجا وقت صارت عاجزة أن تجيب مشتقات نفطية خصوصا البنزين والمازوت، نحن حنكون مضطرين منروح على إيران ومنجيب بنزين ومنجيب مازوت ومنجيبهم مقابل الشواطئ اللبنانية، مو شرط قدام ميناء بيروت يعني، حيث يصح أو يمكن نقل هذه المحمولات من البنزين ومن المازوت إلى لبنان، حتى لو هذا الموضوع ممكن عملنا مشكل مع الدولة، مع أن الدولة أصدقائنا. كل المقدمات الإدارية واللوجستية لإنجاح خطوة من هذا النوع، يعني المجيء بالبنزين والمازوت من إيران واستيعابه في لبنان وآلية توزيعه ليصل إلى المواطنين، هاي المقدمات نحن خلال الأيام الماضية كله أنجزنا. يعني إذا وصلنا بشكل جدي للنقطة اللي أنا حكيت عنها، وهي عجز الدولة اللبنانية أو تخلي الدولة اللبنانية عن المجيء بهذه المشتقات النفطية، نحن بس بنحتاج لإذن الحركة فقط.
Turning to the United Nations headquarters in New York, where during a Security Council meeting on Iran that was held yesterday, the world body's Under-Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs, Rosemarie DiCarlo, urged all nations involved to avoid taking any action that may have a negative impact on efforts to revive the 2015 nuclear agreement.
I echo the Secretary General's appeal to the United States to lift or waive its sanctions outlined in the plan, extend the waivers with regard to the trade in oil with Iran, and to once again facilitate nuclear-related activities consistent with the plan and the resolution.
Ambassador DiCarlo also seized the opportunity to reiterate a call by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in which he urged the United States to lift immediately all sanctions against Iran, regardless of the negotiations taking place in Vienna, while in tandem calling upon Iran to allow for IAEA inspections of its nuclear facilities to resume.
The continued diplomatic efforts in Vienna offer a critical opportunity for both the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran to return to the full and effective implementation of the plan and of the resolution. This would be a welcome and crucial development. It is therefore essential that all member states promote a conducive environment and avoid any action that may have a negative impact on these ongoing diplomatic efforts, as well as on regional stability. I call on the Islamic Republic of Iran to resume the temporary technical understanding with the IAEA without delay, to refrain from taking further steps to reduce its commitments, and to return to full implementation of the plan.
The United States, for its part, seized the public discussion to highlight that the Islamic Republic of Iran had in fact defied UN Security Council Resolution 2231 when it continued to pursue, even when the United States was party to the JCPOA, a ballistic missile program.
Iran continues to disregard the provision of 2231 that calls upon Iran not to undertake any activity related to ballistic missiles designed to be capable of delivering nuclear weapons, including launches using such ballistic missile technology. We share the concerns stated by the E3 and Israel in their letters regarding Iran's ballistic missile activities, and we reject Russia's and Iran's assertions that these activities are not covered by 2231.
The Iranian ambassador to the UN, for his part, sought to highlight Tehran's claims of being a victim to Western bullying.
We have recently heard, including in this meeting, discouraging statements from a few council members pointing their fingers at the victim instead of demanding the culprit to act responsibly. They have deliberately ignored the fact that Iran's steps in ceasing implementation of some of its commitments are remedial in nature. They have called on Iran to come to full compliance with its JCPOA commitments as if it was Iran that withdrew from the JCPOA, as if it was Iran that reimposed or introduced countless inhumane sanctions with the publicly declared objective of starving an entire nation, as if it was Iran that brazenly threatened all states either to violate Resolution 2231 or face punishment, as if it was Iran that pursued maximum pressure policy, and as if it was Iran that made every attempt to kill the JCPOA and Resolution 2231 forever.
While multiple reports continue to assert that a looming revival of the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran is highly likely, Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who spoke at a state commemoration ceremony for Israel's visionary, the late Theodor Herzl, emphasized Israel's position when it comes to Iran's nuclear aspirations and activities.
מדינת ישראל תמיד תגן על עצמה, בעצמה, מפני כל איום חיצוני. ישראל לא תכבול את ידיה מלהבטיח את ביטחוננו. אנחנו נפעל בתקיפות, ביצירתיות וברציפות מול איומים מתהווים מרחוק ומקרוב.
Thank you for watching us. As part of TV7's annual broadcast break, TV7 Israel News will conclude its broadcast tonight until our return scheduled for August 2nd. With that being said, we will have other programs broadcast during the month of July on a number of platforms, including on social media. Therefore, we encourage you to visit our website for more information at www.tv7israelnews.com. So until we resume our broadcast, I would like to encourage you to keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and the salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen wishing you a Shabbat Shalom u'Mevorach. We will see you again on August 2nd for TV7 Israel News at the same time.